Hi there, welcome to another episode of Openly Gray with Sandy K. I am Sandy K. See if I get myself better in the frame here. There we go, that's better. Yep, I got a new little guy right there. Willie brought home art from school, and he gave me his dancing crayon. So when the kids bring home art, not all of it, because they bring home a lot of art, right? I don't put it all in here, but like, I forget. Piper made that one. Ellen made that one. That one's Willie's. That one's Willie's. I have over under here. You can't see it. I have Cameron's kindergarten giraffe, Lou's family picture, up there Pootie's award-winning picture for 4-H last year, and I surround myself with my kids' art, and it makes me very happy. So speaking of happy, yesterday, as you have watched before, was to be my last ketamine treatment. And I said was to be my last ketamine treatment because it didn't go exactly as planned. It happened, but it was not a great experience. So one of my very first PTSD, in fact, the very first PTSD trigger was out here in my driveway, in my barn. Ed had come home from Ellen's house and he was packing up stuff to take stuff back to Ellen's to work on the addition. Excuse me. And he needed help loading stuff in the back of his truck. And, nice. And he needed my help. So I go out there and the first whiff of diesel, I stand stock still. And I just fall apart into pieces. Of course, Ed has no idea what's going on at this time. I wasn't even diagnosed yet. This is how he knew something was really, really wrong. And he realizes I'm not moving. He says, he comes over and says, "Are you okay?" I'm like, and the tears are just, I'm not making any sound. The tears are just falling out of my eyes and I can't move. I can't go forward, I can't go backwards, I can't move. So he finally gets me away from the diesel, from the exhaust smell. And I get in the house, I sit down, and I'm able to tell him it was the diesel smell. Now we go backwards to when the poisoning happened, and this was the front of the hotel, and the trucks are all on this side. The fire trucks, ambulances, everything's on this side, and all the breeze is coming this way towards us. I actually asked him to move the trucks, because the exhaust is making it so much worse. Well, that imprints onto the point of trauma. So when I had that trigger with Ed's truck, okay, we got to avoid it isn't the truck itself, it's the smell of diesel exhaust. And I've been by the truck since then. I've been fine, whatever. It's, I'm not a fan of it, but it doesn't bother me usually. So yesterday, we're heading down to Grosse Pointe, which is about an hour away, to my treatment. And somehow we get boxed in behind a gray, old-fashioned work truck, where it's got the bed with the sides and all the cabinets on the sides. And it says diesel dummy on it. And we're stuck behind it, and I can smell the diesel coming through the vents in the car. I said, "Can you get out of here?" He's like, "I'm doing my best." Okay, so we get out of there. No worries, right? So we show up at Ketamine, at Complete Ketamine of Detroit. Excuse me. And my blood pressure is a little elevated, but nothing they're concerned about. It's a little higher than normal, but whatever. Okay. It's supposed to be a 2-hour session. I enjoy my ride and I'm done, right? So I get into it. I put my earbuds in. I put the mask on. And time is weird because you don't know how long you're under, but I knew it was not long. I knew it was not long. I have a panic attack inside the ketamine. Now, like I said, you could always come out and push the button and be grounded. I push the button, they come in, they turn it off immediately, and I am full-blown panic attack. Now, the last thing I remember, because I'm listening to classical music, and I remember Leia's theme from Star Wars, and I'm a big Star Wars fan if you don't know, huge Star Wars fan. I'm sorry, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, Star Wars fan. 1, 2, 3 are necessary just for story purposes. Not a fan of the movies. Okay, moving on. So, and I recognize this Leia's theme. It isn't a scary song. It isn't one that would make me upset. And that's the last thing I remember before I am petrified. Press the button, rip off the mask. I ground myself, and it is still coming at me. Whatever it is, it's still coming at me. They come in, they turn off the IV, they stay with me till I land a little bit. And they say, well, what happened? I'm like, it was just, at the time I said, Ed and I were doing screens on Sunday night, and screens for the hot tub room, replacing them with new screen material, the same frames, but and I saw gray screens coming at me, just one after another, after another, after another. And it wouldn't stop. And she's okay, we're going to try it again. Now, here's what they tell you with ketamine. You have to go in with a positive attitude, positive thoughts, whatever you have with you, you take into it, okay? And then it gets magnified. That's why I do so well with it, because usually I'm a pretty upbeat person, right? So that's why I'm such a good candidate for it. So, okay, we're going to try it again. And I didn't even put the mask on this time. I didn't want the darkness at all. In fact, they left the door open. I may have asked for that. I don't remember. Oh, the first time I was under 18 minutes. Okay. Of the 2 hours they started it, 18 minutes later, I freaked out. The second time, I don't think it was 5 minutes. And but again, nope, done. Same thing happened again. And now I am in full-blown anxiety, panic attack, tears are running, and I am freaking out. Now, they turned it off, took it out, breathe, all those things, look at me, focus on something in the room, whatever. So I said, you need to call Ed to come get me. He needs to come and be in here and sit with me. Okay, so I'm able to use Siri to call Ed. Jasmine talks to him. Jasmine's one of the assistants. And can you come? He said, on my way, I'll be there in a little bit. And the whole time I'm landing. Well, I call Ed. I said, okay, I'm good now. They use weighted blankets. At the point I said, the blanket has to go. The blanket has to go. Take it off. And because I felt very, very trapped. So now the fight or flight is just all over the place, right? But I'm too high to walk away, right? Probably a good thing, right? So I'll probably cry a little bit because it's just really raw. So again, the whole process, the whole idea is to turn the fight or flight off. Well, now we have kicked it on and shoot as high as it'll go. But yet I'm under too much medication to actually fight or flight, right? So now I just feel trapped. And now I'm calming down. I'm back in my head. Okay. And I call Ed myself. He was about 5 minutes away. And he said, I just need to talk to you until you get here. He's like, okay. I said, I know what it was. He said, you said it was the screens. I said, it wasn't the screens. It was the truck that we followed. Didn't it say diesel dummy on the back? He said, yes, it did. And so what had happened was having that exhaust and not being able to get away from the exhaust because we were trapped with cars on both sides of us created a space that kicked off a PTSD anxiety episode, panic attack episode. But not to the point where I recognized it as such. Now, you would think that's really bad news, right? Like, oh my gosh, Sandy, you still have this? After all this treatment, no, here's the upside takeaway from it. Because, I got to find the positive in everything. Had I not had ketamine after that panic attack, or the beginning of the exposure of the trigger, I never would have known that my body was actually handling it pretty well. I was actually dealing with the trigger really well. The ketamine blew it up into a full-blown panic attack. So the takeaway is the ketamine is working. I handle my trigger, this trigger at least, really well if I don't have ketamine afterwards, right? I might have had a bad day. I might have been angry. I might have been anxious. I might have had, whatever. I might have had some of those things, but it wouldn't have been a full-blown panic attack like it used to be, right? So I tell Cecilia, who runs the place, the good news, and she's like, only you could find good news in that type of event. I said, well, you got to have good intentions. And if you can examine it and figure out what went wrong, because I kept saying to her, what happened? What happened? What happened? She said, it just happens to some people. It doesn't, sometimes it's a good trip, sometimes it's a bad trip. This was a bad one. I'm like, there's got to be a reason for it, right? She said, sometimes there is. You just got to figure out what it was. And then as I came down, I was able to go, oh, it was that truck. I'm still kind of anxious about it. So what next? I'm going back tomorrow. Do I think I need it? Probably not. But it's a matter of not being afraid to take it. Because when this dips, and it will, I have to not be afraid going into it. In fact, I'm so sure about going back tomorrow that I'm going to schedule Friday and Monday just to make sure I end on really positive notes. I still firmly believe this is actually helping me. In fact, I believe it more now than ever that it's helping me because of this horrible, horrible thing that happened again. Fortunately, my blood pressure returned to normal. It was normal last night after baseball. Probably getting out of the house and just sitting here stewing on it and, on the treadmill like a gerbil. Baseball was really great. Willie played really well. The team, they really did a great job. Tonight we have Cameron's game under the lights, Emmett Field over here. They have one field that has lights, and each team gets to play one game under the lights. So it's at 8:30 late night because we go to bed about 9:30 here, but we'll be all right. And then tomorrow morning, I go back again. I will let you know what happens. We will think rainbows and sunshine and unicorns and happy things. It just goes to show you what you tell yourself and what you expose yourself to affects how your brain lives its life, whether you take ketamine or not. I guess the takeaway is be careful what you're exposed to and what you allow yourself to be exposed to. Because that stuff affects you somewhere in your body. Sometimes your mind, sometimes your heart, sometimes your lung. It just, for me, it gave me an adrenaline rush for fight or flight. And I just didn't recognize it as such. That's a good thing. It means I'm finding my way through all of it. And that's a really, really good thing. So hopefully tomorrow's better, and I will let you know how it goes. Thank you for joining me today with Openly Great with Sandy K. And we'll see you next time. Have a great day.